It was raining hard when Rachel moved into her new apartment. The building was old, the kind with creaky floors, yellowed wallpaper, and a faint smell of mildew that no amount of cleaning could fix. But it was cheap, and she was desperate. The landlord, a frail man with a twitch in his eye, had handed her the keys with a warning. "Don't cover the mirror in the bedroom," he'd said flatly. Rachel had laughed, thinking he was joking. He wasn't. Smile. The mirror hung opposite her bed, a full-length antique with a tarnished gold frame. The glass was oddly clean, almost too clean, as if someone polished it daily. That first night, Rachel lay awake, watching lightning flash across its surface. At one point, she swore she saw something in it, a shadow moving across the room. But when she sat up, the room was empty. Strange noises. Over the next few days, Rachel started hearing things, faint whispers at night, soft taps on the floorboards. Once, she heard laughter, childlike giggles echoing faintly from the walls. She told herself it was an old building settling, nothing more. But one morning, she noticed something that made her blood run cold. A small, pale handprint on the inside of the mirror. She tried to laugh it off. Maybe a smudge she hadn't noticed before. But that night, as she brushed her teeth, she glanced into the mirror and froze. Behind her reflection stood a man. He was tall and gaunt, with sunken eyes and a crooked grin. His head twitched slightly, and his skin was a sickly gray. He wore an old-fashioned suit, frayed and dusty. Rachel spun around, heart pounding. The room was empty. She turned back to the mirror, he was gone. Sleepless nights. Rachel stopped sleeping in her bedroom. She dragged her blankets to the couch, but even there, she felt watched. The whispers grew louder at night, always coming from the direction of her bedroom. Once, she woke up at 3 a.m. to the sound of scratching. When she crept to the bedroom door and peeked in, she saw long, jagged cracks forming on the surface of the mirror, from the inside. Rachel invited her best friend, Julia, over, hoping for some reassurance. Julia, always a skeptic, laughed. "Old building, old mirror. You're just freaked out," she said, inspecting the glass. "Look closer," Rachel urged. Julia leaned in, and for a moment, her face paled. "There's something moving." Rachel's stomach dropped. "You see it too?" Before Julia could respond, the reflection of the room shifted. The walls looked rotten, covered in black mold, and in the corner of the mirrored room stood a shadowy figure, crawling on all fours. Julia screamed. The mirror cracked loudly, and they both stumbled out of the room. The next morning, Rachel stormed downstairs to confront the landlord. "That mirror, what's wrong with it?" she demanded. The old man's face went pale. "You saw him." "Him?" "The watcher," the landlord whispered. "This building is cursed. That mirror is a doorway. Once you see him, he sees you. He won't stop." Rachel grabbed his arm. "Take it down." The landlord shook his head. "It doesn't work like that. If you break it, you'll let him out." Rachel decided she couldn't stay. She packed her things, ready to leave that night. She'd grab her suitcase, call a cab, and never look back. But when she walked into her bedroom to get her bag, she froze. The mirror was cracked from top to bottom, splintering her reflection into jagged fragments. And the man was standing right behind her reflection, his smile wider than ever. The lights flickered, plunging the apartment into darkness. Rachel grabbed her phone flashlight, her breath ragged. She backed out of the room, but the whispering grew deafening, surrounding her. "Rachel!" She turned and screamed. The man was crawling out of the mirror, his long, bony fingers gripping the frame. His joints cracked as he dragged himself into her world, his grin splitting his face unnaturally wide. Rachel ran. She darted down the hallway, the sound of scraping claws on wood behind her. Her phone slipped from her sweaty hand, shattering on the floor. She reached the front door, fumbling with the locks, but it wouldn't budge. The air grew icy, her breath visible in the dark. A cold hand brushed her shoulder. She spun and saw his face inches from hers, those hollow eyes, that jagged smile. She screamed and bolted for the fire escape. The stairwell. Rachel tore through the stairwell, heart hammering, but the lights flickered out completely. She stumbled in the darkness, hearing his slow, deliberate footsteps above her. She burst into the lobby and slammed into the landlord, who grabbed her arms. "Did you touch the mirror?" he hissed. "No." He came out." The landlord's face twisted in horror. "Then it's too late." The next morning, the building was silent. Police arrived after neighbors reported screams, but when they entered apartment 6B, everything was untouched. The mirror stood pristine, reflecting an empty room. Rachel's belongings were still there. Her phone lay shattered on the floor. And in the mirror, if you looked closely, you could see Rachel, pale, wide-eyed, and screaming silently as she pounded on the glass. The landlord quietly locked the door and hung a for rent sign outside.